The following feature piece is a segment taken from an episode of Roundup, our fortnightly all-in-one recap of everything to do with Oceanic CS. The full episode is linked in the video description, or alternatively you can check us out on Spotify, Apple or Google Podcasts, and other podcast apps by searching for Snowball Esports. Thanks, and enjoy the video.
Welcome to this week's Roundup feature, and the segment of the show where we're going to grab something related to our teams and players and really dive in deep. In the last week or so, we've seen many Aussies fighting it out at IEM Katowice, including the hometown heroes of the Renegades. They had a lot of storylines going into the event, mainly the loss of Dex to their IGL, bringing in Alistair, and it's been roughly about 12 months since their last international play. But what I really want to hone in on here is whether I think the Renegades have what it takes to reintegrate into European play or not, or if there's going to be some teething issues that we can expect going forward. At IEM Katowice, and if you haven't watched it already, it should be given that I'm about to spoil everything that's happened. They didn't make it out of the play-in stage, so not quite getting into the actual main event itself. And this came off the back of dropping a game, their opening game to Mouse Sports, which put them in the lower bracket, and then eventually they came up against Virtus Pro, who knocked them out. I've picked apart some of the demos that I want to go through, and a combination of things that work and that are positive signs, but also found some things that I feel didn't quite hit the mark for the Renegades and cost them the rounds and maps. But first, let's start with some of the good stuff, beginning with this round here in the opening match against Mouse. Towards A, Hats and Sicko go for this cool setup here in the apartments to try and look for an opening pick, or, should one of them get killed, they're at least in a position where they're able to actually trade it out. While nothing comes of it, this shows that CT protocols are very much in place and that the initiative is there, even if it doesn't necessarily nail them the kill every time. However, towards B, Mouse look like they're looking to finish the roundup here, and it's what Inns and Malta are able to do with just 2 flashes and their individual strength around that. Renegades and Inns in particular are touted to be very effective when it comes to the usage of their utility. This is even backed up by their old coach Mitha, who is now actually the coach of Mouse Sports alongside Dexter. And as we see this round and the power of utility, the next round again highlights this sort of idea that Renegades use the utility to their advantage and how it makes their CT side so strong. This round is an anti-eco and it goes after the first pistol where Mouse Sports are gearing up towards this B push, but Malta and Inns are able to slow down the B control, the banana plays with early HEs, and then importantly, these smokes, to which Inns has just deployed the second one. Mouse Sports are stuck behind it as they're unable to just burst through and get the plant because they don't know where any of the CT players are. Alistair here getting cheated over to this side of the map and deploying the third smoke is what actually deters them from pushing this side at all. Being able to identify when to use utility like this can make a CT side so strong. This is the last example of CT things that are going well, and off the back of losing this B site, it's how Renegades use the information that they have. So they're rotating in Ali, Sicko, and Malta to get ready to retake the B site, but Inns is waiting. Even though they lost the site, they recognize it's taking too long for the bomb plant to go down, and that's because they're not actually planning B. Because Inns knows this and is waiting on the A site, he hears this sound cue, and Ali on short is able to turn and just stop the bomb plant from happening at all. Overall, there actually aren't too many problems with the CT sides of the Renegades for me. Their utility is something that I keep mentioning, and it's top-notch, to be honest. They were actually the highest ranked team in the play-ins for ADR with util, so their HE grenades and their incendiary Molotov statistics, they're actually doing the most damage per round compared to all the other teams with these nades. But the thing at this event that really let them down was actually their T sides. They only won 31.9% of them and ranked them 14th out of the 16 teams in the event. Before we get into any of the particular rounds that go wrong, I just want to cover this quick T-side round that is an exception. While I don't think there was a lot of meaningful analysis to come from the VP series, just because they're such a league above the Renegades, I think this round shows the potential of the T-sides and their ability to every now and again punish the EU teams. This round is all about Malta. His ability to pull rotations and keep that extra CT player towards the B site is actually what enables the space and time for them to push the A site and really get that window of timing for a bomb plant. Even though Malta goes down, the broken round is already set in motion, and considering it's a 2v4, Hats and Ali play this quite well, but they're only able to get into this position in the first place off the back of Malta's pressure on the other side of the map, and the call to actually hit the A site with this particular timing. Despite this, there's still a lot wrong with the T sites. I believe it comes down to lack of protocol and time spent catching back up to the European meta just not being there yet, where you can be more punished in the ways that you do things, any mistake you make, and even picking less optimal ways to play out the round will result in you getting punished. In this round, the ideas are there, but the execution just doesn't materialize. And dropping a 4v2 like this is one of those rounds you might look back on and realize it would have made the difference if a couple of these rounds went the other way. Despite early picks and the man advantage, it's almost as if region diff takes over when Frozen and BMAS are in this 2v4. A flash hit from Hats is supposed to land in as a kill. Not getting this kill actually forces Malta here on the B site to defend against the incoming two players on his own. With Alistair running up Banana and able to support with the flash, it really comes up to Malta to get a kill here, but he is unable to. And it puts the CTs into a really tough spot with the 2v2 retake and how the Ts decide to play it out. In the post plan, how Frozen and BMAS play this is really important, and we'll come around to it again later, but they let the CTs make all of the pushes, and as a result, they have to make all the mistakes. It's not up to Frozen and BMAS to peak and lose the round for themselves that way. Again, while all the ideas are there initially for the flashes and how to play the round, it just doesn't materialize. And we see this time again in the mid rounds here, where Hats towards B gets caught out by re-aggression from Team 1. Hats being the only player towards the B side, it really forces the hand of the A side players who begin to push up short. While this Molotov is good from Alistair, again, re-aggression catches him out. The aggressive play does cost Skulls his life, but it really puts it down into this 2v2, and the ridiculous aggression that comes out from Team 1 just squeezes the T side of Renegades and forces them into many bad spots. Even a simple smoke designed to isolate the T players from one another just destroys Renegades. And finally, this brings us to the final round, and this is a bit of a mixed bag when it comes to what's going on, but it encapsulates a lot of the different things. In the sort of broken round, Sicko and Ali here are looking to push onto the site, and this opening sort of kill, I guess, is what brings it down into a 3v2 and makes it a lot more playable. In the man disadvantage, all Mousesports need to do is walk into the site and effectively trade. Thus, I think this initial aggression out of Sicko here is not too bad, considering they need to get it down into a 2v2 so that it's at least more playable and less skewed against them. However, once this kill does come out and it goes into the 2v2, this is where this round differs from the previous one where I showed the Mousesports players in a similar situation. After the fact, they continue to peak, and it's almost as if the nerves or panic is getting to them, despite how low the bomb is to going off. Because these CT players were even so far away, it would have taken so much time for them to get onto the site to get these kills. And I think this urgency to get the round done is what actually loses them the round. Overall, I think a couple of things are clear with what the Renegades need to work on, but given the context of the last 12 months, especially being trapped in Australia and that they've gone overseas before and been successful, I think the pieces are there for them to be able to do it once more. It'll come down to how they handle the loss of Dexter and how much prac they can actually work on before they come home. I guess outside of that, it's nothing more than time will tell here for the boys if they can keep up with the European meta. Again, thank you for watching this roundup feature and supporting the show as a whole. Be sure to check it out on YouTube and on the available audio services.